Breaker, this is the truck and tanker Yanker. I'm 10-8 with my 10 in the wind. My heaters are glowing, my manners are showing. Wind her up, let her go, come on. I'm your travel agent with a story to tell. Let's go for a ride.
Psst, hey!
Huh? What?
The camera's on.
Who is that? Oh. Okay. Well, I was just contemplating nothingness. I think I found myself. Well, okay. Back to the topic at hand here. How I got this way. This is my first video in the Truck and Yanker Tanker series, and I'm just gonna say how I got here, what I've been doing for the last 35 years. Well, I got my first driving job in 1985. I'd worked on a farm from the time when I was 14 till I was 19, and then one of the guys on the farm told me about a job that I could help him. He was driving a truck, and I could help him, and so I helped him, and then after working a whole summer, back-breaking labor, being a helper, they said, "Hey, you want to be a driver?" And I was a Sharpie, you know, and I said, "Does it pay more?" And they said, "Yeah, pays 50 cents an hour more." So I'm like, well, sign me up. So they sent me out with George to go train on how to be an over-the-road truck driver. And that's how it started. Now, I might tell more stories about that in the future as far as all the details, because riding with George was an experience all by itself. And that just be part of what I'm going to be talking about in the future. Well, I got my chauffeur's license when I was about 20 years old in 1984. And that was so I could drive a farm truck hauling green chop on the highway, because the farm I was working for was a dairy farm. The farm I was working for had a field that was several miles away from where the cows were at, and since the cows were on a dry lot, we actually, instead of feeding silage, we actually had a 200-acre field where we just cut grass green. It was grass and alfalfa and some other stuff in it, and chop it, basically we call it green chop. Chopped it, and they got loaded into the truck, drove the truck back to the farm, and had an auger out the side of the truck. We just augered it out along the feed bunks. And so I had to get my chauffeur's license in order to do that. But really, my driving experience started a long time before that, and I'll probably tell that in a different story. But I got my chauffeur's license in 1984. I just thought I would mention what I've driven in the last 35 years. I probably could explain what I drove before I actually got my chauffeur's license, but I'll save that for a different time also. I've driven an elevator truck, a boom truck. I've pulled flatbeds, curtain vans, dry vans, double dry vans, triple dry vans with an outside height of 14 feet and an interior height of 120 inches. Some of you might have seen a trailer like that. They got small little, more basically pickup tires on the back of the big truck on the trailer, and Milwaukee gear to jack the trailer up to dock height. I have a grain train. I've had a grain train. I've hauled oversized. I drove a flat, and I'm telling you, I had to write all this down because I had to sit and think about it for a long time before I actually remembered everything that I've actually done. And there was another thing I wanted to say. If ever you see like there's a weird cut or something like that in the video, where like one moment you see me probably said something way too funny to be left on the video, and this is, you know, I'm all about safety and trying to be as safe as we possibly can, and that being the case, I don't want to say something so funny that when you get in your car or your truck and you start heading down the road, you think about it, it could cause an incident. And I don't want to cause an incident. So if there's anything that's too funny, it will have an odd, and then you'll see me like that. And that's, you know, so that's just because it was a really funny spot. So yeah, the stuff we leave in is not very funny, and that's a reason. There's a reason for that, is because we don't want to be an impediment to safety. So anyway, back to what I was telling you, what I've done. See, I said flatbed. Yeah, a flatbed. I started on flatbeds, truck and trailer. A flatbed truck and trailer. Boy, my first over the road, it was a 79 Freightliner cab over at a 400 big cam Cummins and a 13 speed. That was my first over the road truck, and it had Rayco spring suspension, and it had Armstrong steering, which means basically it did not have power steering. What I had was a steering wheel that was about the size as your drive tires, and the reason why you had a big steering wheel that big is because you needed all that gear reduction to be able to turn this, and that was only when you were moving. You could not turn your steering wheel when you were holding still, and you had to have at least a little bit of movement, and then you could grab your steering wheel and yank on it and pull on it like that. You used to have a fan right here in the middle of the windshield, and even on a 30-degree morning or night, I'd have that fan pointing at me, blowing full steam, trying to keep me cool while I'm trying to go backwards in my truck and trailer. Well, anyway, so I flatbed truck and trailer. Let's see what else. A truck and trailer with gas and diesel. Basically, a truck and trailer has a truck with a body tank or a body mounted flatbed. My flatbed one had a 24-foot bed on the truck, and then I actually had a pull trailer that had a 24-foot bed on the pull trailer with about a 9-foot drawbar in between. That would be a truck and trailer. The gas truck and trailers, or body tanks and trailers, is basically a 5,000 gallon body tank, and then you have, the trailers vary, but they're somewhere in the neighborhood about 32 to 34 foot long, and they'll have a tongue, a drawbar, somewhere between 8 and 10, 12 feet, just depends. Some are different. The more stretch you get, then the higher your bridge formula you can go with. Basically, you can haul more over on the same axles over a longer distance than you can in a short distance. So that's basically what the truck and trailer is. They call them double bottom. They call them all sorts of different things. Let's see, gas and diesel tanker in 53 foot. Well, and also propane, butane, white grade, sweet gas, all that kind of stuff in 53s. My gas train that I pull, probably 25% of the time, sometimes 75% of the time, is 105 feet long, and it's and I've hauled crude oil and gas, diesel in that, sweet gas, ethanol, just flammable oil-filled products, that type of thing. Pressure trailers, I mentioned propane, butane, wide grade, which is basically methane out of the oil field that's been condensed into a liquid form, and it's got propane, butane, and sweet gas all in it, and it has to be separated, so you take it to another plant that separates it. On a regular basis, I currently haul liquid flammable loads up to 132,000 pounds, sometimes a little more. I think one time I ran with the devil, and I think I weighed 160,000 pounds once, and that was a little overweight because we were getting paid on percentage, and it was a short distance, but being that I had a little motor in my truck, and it pretty much kept me from even going over 45 miles an hour on flat ground. But that was one time. I probably got stories where I'll say, don't try this at home. But I've matured since then, and I don't do that very much anymore, that kind of a thing. We try to keep it all legal, try to stay in compliance, try to stay friends with the man, and some of the men and women are DOT cops are good people, and some of them, just like any other group of people, some of them are maybe not so good. They all got motives and situations going on in their lives that cause them to have an attitude from one time to the next. But be that as it may, that's just what it is. And being a professional is about getting along with everybody. It's getting along with police officers, the highway patrol, city kiddies, the DOT cops. It's just a matter of being professional. If I'm professional, it encourages them to be professional. And it don't hurt if they're being unprofessional to say in a nice tone. That's an unprofessional way to put that. I'm trying to stay professional here, and let's just everybody do their jobs. It's not personal. I'm trying to do my job. You're trying to do your job. We might have different parameters at times, but let's all work together. Oftentimes it cools them down. Currently my tractor is a 4-axle Mack sleeper truck. You can see my bed in the background. It's my quilt on the top. I actually make my bed with sheets. I don't like temporary beds. I live in here all week long, so consequently I make a real bed. I got a pillow, I got sheets, I got blankets, and that type of thing. It's a 4-axle Mack sleeper tractor, and mostly, and what I'm hooked to right now is a 4-axle 53-foot pressure trailer. Currently I have a load of propane on, but I will be dropping this load and then going to get a load of butane and to bring back. So my gas tanker, the A-train, has got 7 axles on just the train. It's a total of, well, let's see, 7 plus 4 equals 13 axles total. Is a 105-foot gas train. I've driven team and cab overs and conventionals, although I'm currently driving solo and have been for roughly the last 16 and a half years. I get trainees now and again, and they ride with me. I don't have to teach them how to drive or anything like that. I just teach them how to handle pressure. Now I'm a pressure trainer on propane, butane, things like that. Anything with pressure. I've hauled in hydrous ammonia. I used to do that extensively in the spring and in the fall when those seasons are going. But that's what my training basically entails, is just teaching them the pressure. I don't have to teach anybody how to drive anymore. And I would not want to teach anybody how to drive while we're pulling a bomb. Yeah. All right. I don't have to say anything more about that. So, I got tons of stories from having run team. Some of you drivers out there know what it's like. Running team is like being married with no benefits. You just got to try to be nice to each other, and you're stuck in a little small box. And I have got some doozy stories about that. Well, when I got to listing, and I wrote it all down here so I wouldn't forget nothing. But considering all the equipment I pulled over the last 35 years, which currently right now, as of the making of this movie, is 35 years, it sounds like I've had a lot of jobs. But I've only, in 35 years of driving, have only had 4 jobs. And the last, well, since 1992, I've only had 2 jobs. I've been working for the company I'm working for now since 2004. And before that, I worked for myself. I had my own company since 1992. Before that, from 92 back to 85, when I started driving over the road, I had 2 employers. Now, when I had my own company from 92 to 2004, this may sound kind of hard to believe because I just went back to being a truck driver again. And maybe it just means I'm wired a little different than the average guy. But I used to have 27 trucks and 49 employees. I always said 50, but that included me. But aside from myself, including part-timers and office personnel and drivers, I had 49 employees. And so I got tons of stories in relation to the ownership side of trucking and interaction with drivers and people that worked for me. Lots of funny stories. You know, and what's prompted all this is my family has heard my stories for years. And my wife was like, you need to tell other people your stories. You know, they would enjoy them. And so this is just an experiment to see if anybody else wants to hear my stories. And this is just basically, this first video here is to tell you how I got this way, what I've done to get me here. I've got a ton of stories. And usually my stories are always educational. Generally speaking, there's some kind of a moral associated with the story, and I'll bring it out. You know, my tag at the end has got a moral in it. It's something to pay attention to. I plan on talking about safety. I plan on talking about tips and tricks for drivers. I plan on talking about awareness for people that are driving four-wheelers, which for the uninitiated is basically just cars and pickups. Basically anybody that's not driving a big truck. There's a lot of things you should know. Matter of fact, I've had ride-alongs here, and when they saw the perspective that I look at every day for the last 35 years, they realized that their own behavior around truckers was not as good as it should have been, and that they could have been more safety minded, realizing, because I'd point out to people what it is that's going on around me. And I've got a lot of stories that shows how that plays out in real life. I've run into weird situations. I've seen more weird stuff from the driver's seat. I've run in, like I said, a good cops, bad cops, good DOT cops. I've won a state truck driving championship. I've seen and done amazing things. I've even amazed myself at times. I've driven around the clock legally because the governor of our state gave us a special dispensation to drive around the clock because the necessity of getting fuel to local stations was more important than safety, oddly enough. And I'll explain about that sometime in the future. I've hauled building materials, air freight, hazmat, obviously. That's what I'm doing now mostly. My truck is even, one of my trucks, not me personally, but one of my trucks hauled a missile guidance system once. I've hauled loads valued at countless millions of dollars. One of my air freight trucks hauled a Bill Gates' Lamborghini in a dry van. We built a floor on top of it and stacked freight on top of Bill Gates' Lamborghini. Of course, none of it touched his Lamborghini, but nonetheless. And that's got a whole nother story. If I told you about why Bill Gates flew his Lamborghini to Belgium, that's a story for the future. But let's see. Right now, my work week is Monday to Friday. I sleep in my truck all week long. It's a small truck, but we get paid on how many gallons I haul, so the less weight in my truck and trailer, the better. Our equipment is generally fairly heavy anyway. My gas train is 46,000 pounds, 105 foot long. The trailers are made of almost all aluminum. My tractor is a little heavier. I got a 500 horse Mack motor that puts out 1850 torque, and I got an 18-speed transmission. My propane quad, basically quad means 4-axle, my propane quad is a little heavier, and it weighs 56,000 pounds, and when I'm full of fuel, it's about 56,000 pounds is my empty weight. And what's a legal weight for that is 103,500. All my axles are legal and actually under legal, but that's all I'm good for on bridge. So bridge formula is basically how much from the steer axle, how much weight there is from the steer axle to the trailer axle and all the little groups in between. The bridge formula is based on how many pounds per square inch most overpasses can handle for weight. And so I'm limited to 103.5, even though I could axle legal go a little higher than that. Now, the reason why my propane quad is so heavy is because it's made out of, the head is made out of actually most of the trailer is about 1/3 of an inch plus. It's like 0.4 inch of steel. And the reason why is because it can handle up to 250 PSI of pressure of flammable liquid. And if that were to pop, rupture, get a pinhole, anything like that, it could be a major catastrophe. And so they make them heavy so they can handle. And our company has had some older trailers that were built in the 60s and the 70s, and generally speaking, the older a trailer is, the more battle scars it's got. You can see scrape marks down the side where somebody has sometime in the past laid the trailer over on its side and scratched up the steel. But because the steel was okay, they kept it in service. They just put a new coat of paint on it. Some of my true stories might be hard to believe. I guarantee you, some of them I had a hard time believing them while they were happening. Beyond stories, I just want to give you safety tips and tricks. If you have questions, now that's something real important. If you have questions about the road, what truck drivers do, or you're a driver and you need some advice, I'm a teacher. Matter of fact, just today, I ran into a guy at the propane rack who his company just basically stuck him out there. You guys know how that is. The company just sticks you out there and they're like, good luck, bud. And he really doesn't know what he's doing. well, I given them some advice, and hopefully it was helpful. And little things like that. And that's what it is being a professional. It's just helping each other out and working together. So if you have questions about the road, or anything that I do, or anything that I've said, or any nomenclature or words that I've used or misused, oftentimes my vocabulary is larger than my ability to pronounce it, mostly because I read too much, and so I never hear words pronounced, and so I just kind of make up the pronunciation as I go. Now, if you have a question about any of that, just send in the comment section below. Just write in there your question. Tell me your handle, where you're from, or where you want me to believe you're from, or what you want me to believe your name or handle is, whatever. Ask your question. Say, could you please answer this question? And I'll try to answer it either on below in the comment section, or a couple of the really good ones, I'll stick them on the next video, and I'll just, maybe at the end of the video, I'll put down, well, such and such from Mudflap from Roanoke had a question, and here's Mudflap's question. And so anyway, and I'll pick one or two, and I'll answer them on video, and give you a shout out, Mudflap and Roanoke. So, oh yeah, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more family friendly. That's me, family friendly. I have a family, and I'm friendly, and more family friendly true stories. And make sure you ring the bell and give her a thumbs up. Hey, you got to give it to me. Give me a thumbs up. It's just like blinking your lights or tapping your horn. It's polite. All right. Remember, take it easy. Keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down. Make sure you look further than your hood ornament, and don't be a bumper sticker. It makes you look unprofessional. Hey, see you on the flip side. I'm gone.